Hey everyone, today's video is incredibly personal and honestly one I've been wanting to film for a long time. I'm sharing my journey of how I became a single mom by choice, how I made the decision, what the process looked like, and what it's been like raising Billy on my own, but with a whole lot of love and support. If you ever wondered what it's like to go down this path, or you've considered it yourself, I hope this story encourages you, informs you, and makes you feel a little less alone. Welcome to Cruising Through Motherhood, where life is a bit chaotic but full of love. I'm Sabrina Cruz, a toddler mom sharing all things motherhood, home, and my favorite finds while keeping life as organized and fun as possible. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's get started. I've always known I wanted to be a mom. That was never a question for me. But for a long time, I thought that dream had to come after meeting the right partner, building a life together, and then starting a family. But as I moved through my 20s and approached my 30s, the reality hit me. The relationship part wasn't happening on my timeline. And I had to ask myself, am I going to let that stop myself from becoming a mother? And then I had this moment, almost like a light bulb, where I realized something kind of freeing. I don't need a man to be a mother. I just need sperm. It sounds blunt, but honestly, that clarity changed everything. I didn't have to put my life on pause waiting for someone else to show up. I could take control of the one thing I'd always wanted to be, a mom. At 30, the idea stopped being a fantasy and became something real. I started talking about it, first in quiet conversations with my family. I remember nervously bringing it up, half expecting them to talk me out of it. But instead, they listened. They asked thoughtful questions, and even though they weren't totally sure at first, they respected the fact that I was thinking it through. By the time I turned 31, I wasn't just dreaming, I was ready to take action. I felt aligned with the decision, and my heart was fully in it. And I knew deep down that this wasn't a last resort. This was me choosing my life, my timing, and my path to motherhood on my own terms. For me, the decision to become a single mom by choice came pretty naturally. It wasn't something I agonized over for years, it just felt right. But that doesn't mean I didn't take it seriously. And it definitely didn't mean I went into it without deep, thoughtful conversations. My parents were the first people I talked to. I knew their opinions mattered, and I wanted to hear what they thought. Not for permission, but because I value their wisdom and support. And while they didn't shut down the idea, they didn't immediately say go for it either. They were honest with me. They said, this is going to be hard. They reminded me that there would be moments where I'd feel really alone, that I'd be carrying the full weight of parenting, emotionally, financially, physically, that while they'd be supporting me, I would be the one in the trenches day in and day out. And they weren't wrong. But what stuck with me wasn't their concern, it was their commitment. They told me, if you do this, we'll be there for you. And they meant it 100%. We even talked about timing my pregnancy around when they planned to retire so they could be hands on and help in those early months. That conversation still means the world to me. Knowing that my family saw the full picture, the hard stuff, and the beautiful parts, and still chose to stand beside me. That was my green light. That was the moment I said, okay, I'm really doing this. Not because I had all the answers, I certainly didn't. Not because I wasn't scared, I certainly was. But because I knew I wouldn't be doing it entirely alone. And because I knew in my heart that I was ready to become a mom, no matter what that looked like. When I started the fertility process, I chose IUI with donor sperm. I know that for a lot of people, the road to conception can be long, emotional, and exhausting. But for me, I was really lucky. It worked on the very first try. I honestly was just so excited to get started. I didn't feel afraid or overwhelmed. I just felt hopeful. It was like I'd been waiting for so long to step into this part of my life, and now I was finally getting to do it. Choosing a donor was one of the more surreal parts of the process. It's such a personal decision, and I thought about what would be best for my child, not just as a baby, but as a growing human with questions and curiosity. I ended up choosing a donor that Billy could meet when he turns 18. That was really important to me. I wanted him to have that option, that access, and that piece of the story if he wanted it when he's ready to explore it. I didn't want to close that door for him. And well, I went through this all technically alone. I didn't feel alone. My heart was so full during that time. I felt surrounded by hope, purpose, and the love of my family and friends, even though they weren't in the exam room with me. I wasn't afraid. I was ready for all of it. My pregnancy was honestly amazing. Yes, I was so swollen. I was exhausted. And by the third trimester, just putting on my shoes felt like a full body workout. But I loved being pregnant. It was such a beautiful, surreal experience. Feeling Billy move for the first time is something I'll never quite forget. I remember this quiet, fluttering reminder that he was there anytime he moved. And every time it happened, it felt like a secret that only the two of us shared. It's crazy. My body was growing a whole human. And even though I knew the science of it, still kind of felt like magic. I even did the size comparisons using different Harry Potter things, like he's now the size of a bludger or a chocolate frog card. I ended up handling most things on my own though because I choose this path and that's what I had prepared for. Many of the doctor's appointments I had to go to by myself, notebook in hand, tons of questions ready. But if my mom was in town, she came with me. She sat beside me during ultrasounds and listened to his heartbeat with just as much awe as I did. I remember we went to a fetal echo because when babies are conceived using IUI, there's a higher risk for heart defects. And when we went to that fetal echo, I looked over and she was over there sitting in the chair crying, just listening to her first grandchild's heartbeat. I designed the nursery myself, painted the walls, folded the tiny clothes, and created a space that felt calm and full of love, even if he didn't actually ever end up using the nursery. I wrote out my birth plan, packed my hospital bag, partially since he came at 35 weeks. That hospital bag wasn't fully packed. And I also made a whole bunch of late night Target runs for baby things that I didn't really need, but thought I needed. Here's the most important part though. I really never truly was alone. My mom, my dad, and my sister showed up for me in every way that mattered. They didn't just support me, they celebrated with me. Every milestone felt like a shared joy. They were genuinely excited, not just for little baby Billy, but for me stepping into this new chapter. And in those moments when I was propped up with pillows, eating crushed ice, watching my belly shift like a wave, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. I felt whole. I felt chosen for this. I felt ready. Now, the birth. That part didn't exactly go according to plan. It was chaotic, to say the least, more than I could ever have imagined. I hemorrhaged not long after delivery, and everything escalated fast. It was scary. It was intense. It reminded me that even the most prepared plans can fall apart in a moment. But in that chaos, there was so much calm. My medical team was phenomenal, skilled, attentive, and grounded. And I had this incredible doula who also acted as my birth photographer. She helped me keep the energy in the room steady even when I was overwhelmed. And my mom was my anchor. She was in that room with me and never once flinched. She stayed composed, stayed strong, and made sure I felt safe and supported while everything swirled around us. And then he was here. The second I saw Billy, everything else faded. The fear, the pain, the noise, about 20 different medical personnel. It all went quiet. He was perfect, and he was mine. I couldn't believe it. I'd waited so long to meet him, imagined that moment so many times, and yet it still takes my breath away. I fell in love instantly, and not in some abstract way. I mean, instantly, like I'd known him forever. It still blows my mind how deep that love goes, and how fast it found its home in me. The days and weeks that followed that were a blur. Diapers, feedings, napping, healing, doctor's appointments, ER visits, learning how to be a mom in real time. I wasn't navigating it alone though. My mom stayed with me for the first 3 months. She helped cook, she helped with Billy, she helped me breathe through the hard moments, and my dad came down to help too. I ended up hemorrhaging a second time through the postpartum period. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks later. So they were absolutely amazing to have there. My dad took me to the hospital while my mom stayed home, and I knew Billy was safe with her. They stepped in not just as grandparents, but as my team, as my support, and my safety net. I didn't do it entirely alone, but I did become a mother on my terms, and that means everything to me. When I say my parents were everything, truly and honestly they were. They didn't just help. They became part of the village I didn't even know I had. My mom was there every step of the way, from late in the pregnancy to the early morning labor to the blurry newborn nights. She didn't hover, but she was present in every way that mattered. She held Billy when I was too sore or tired to move. She made sure I ate when I was so wrapped up in Billy I forgot. She encouraged me without ever making me feel like I was doing it wrong. She gave me space to find my footing, but never let me feel like I was falling. My dad, too. He jumped in whenever he could. He made grocery runs, he helped clean, he took a morning shift to give me extra sleep, he changed diapers, and he reminded me to laugh in those heavy emotional first months. It brought so much peace having my parents there. And my sister, she celebrated every little win with us. She never made me feel like I was doing something weird or unconventional. She just loved us and showed up. Then there were my friends. They may not have been there physically every day, but they showed up with texts, check ins, care packages, and little reminders that I was doing a good job even when I didn't feel like it was. None of them tried to take over. They didn't try to fix or make it look like what a traditional family life should be. They just met me where I was, and that made all the difference. Is it still hard? Absolutely. There are moments where I still feel alone, even with all the help. But I don't expect perfection. I built a version of the village that worked for me, a blend of family, chosen family, and community. And even though I became a mom by myself, I've never really been alone. I decided to share my story online because I know there have to be other women out there who feel like I do. Women who dreamed of becoming moms, who haven't found the right partner, and who are starting to wonder if they have to put their dream on hold or let go of it entirely. And I wanted to be one more voice saying, you don't have to wait. You can choose motherhood on your own terms. You can rewrite what family looks like. You can create something beautiful and full and intentional, even if it doesn't follow the traditional path. There's nothing wrong with choosing to become a single mom. It's not a last resort. It's not selfish. It's not sad. It's brave. It's powerful. And it's filled with just as much joy and meaning as any other parenting story. It may look different, but it feels just as whole. I share my story not because I think everyone should do what I did, but because someone out there might want to, and they just need to hear that it's possible, that they're not weird or reckless or broken for wanting this, that they're not alone. So if one woman hears my story and thinks, okay, maybe I can do this too, then it's worth every bit of vulnerability. Because motherhood, this kind of motherhood, is still love, still strength, still family, still magic. If you're thinking about going down this path, here's what I'll tell you. It's hard. Not gonna lie, it's hard. Even with an incredible family, even with the incredible support I have, it's hard. It's hard doing it on your own. But it is so beyond worth it. If you know in your heart this is something you want, don't let fear hold you back. Think it through. Build your support system, and then go for it. Would I do it all over again? 1,000% yes. Thanks for letting me share my story. This path may not be traditional, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. If you're on a similar journey or thinking about becoming a single mom by choice, feel free to leave me a comment or send me a message. I'm always happy to share what I've learned or just listen. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more Real Mom content, and follow along if you want to see what it looks like raising a toddler as a solo mama with a whole lot of love, chaos, and heart.